The lieutenant is left alone for a week, but that's alright. He uses the time to restore order, clean, and perform technical service on the truck.
So, der Baumarkt meines Vertrauens, da kaufte ich eben die havarierten Schrauben nach, aber in Stainless. Dann könnte ich schon mal nicht mehr verrosten. Kurzer Einblick in das leckgeschlagene Shuttle, so sieht das also hier aus. Alles ist am Trocknen und so weit zerlegt, wie es möglich ist. Zum Glück habe ich ja diese Tools gekauft, die nutzen wir jetzt.
He relocates the truck base to Keflavik in the harbor area, which has its own allure, a morbid charm, the lieutenant finds.
So sitze ich jetzt hier schon seit einer Stunde und sauge mittels Kapillareffekt das Wasser aus dem Fensterrahmen, der komplett vollgelaufen ist. Okay, hier vorne gleiches Problem, abgerissene Schraube. So kann man seine Zeit prima verbringen auf Island.
He repairs the windows again after another water intrusion, drinks less, almost nothing by his standards, and prepares healthy breakfasts. This whole thing has a quaint, peaceful, even monastic feel to it. At least that's how it seems to the lieutenant, like he's a modern monk. A monk in his monastery on wheels. Nevertheless, he eagerly awaits the relief crew, the sea team.
Das ist doch cool.
It should be called Team Charlie, but he calls it Team Caroline instead. Caro brings gin, a bottle labeled Wild Icelandic Dry Gin, and they talk about old times, current situations, and the stories they've heard.
Also ich habe den Gin aufbekommen. Kannst du mal anschlossen?
Schenke mal ein.
They stand in the harbor, a beautiful and serene place, albeit rainy. And in the morning, a dramatic cloud event unfolds right before the crew's eyes through the panoramic window at the back of the ZETROS. Then tragedy strikes. Whether it was due to the storm or the earthquake, Caroline falls from a treacherous height onto the asphalt, breaking her back and foot, fracturing her heel. With the ZETROS acting as a medevac, the lieutenant races through Reykjavik to Landspítali, the National University Hospital of Iceland, in the emergency room. Caro mainly receives painkillers and heparin, which she must self-administer through injections. Instead of a cast, she at least gets an airwalker orthosis in crutches. Under no circumstances should she put weight on her foot for 6 weeks, and due to the double spinal fracture, she should lie down for several weeks. Not a very good diagnosis, the lieutenant thinks, and Caroline books the next flight back to Middle-earth.
Man braucht ja so Speck.
Den du ja quasi nicht hast.
Naja.
However, Team Caroline still has a whole day to spend in Iceland. So they make the best of it and even catch a glimpse of the northern lights. Well, virtually at least, at the Perlan Observatory in Reykjavik. It was a short-lived appearance for the sea crew, but intense.
So, dann haben wir einmal Fish and Chips. Bis ich Mühe gegeben habe, so ein Ding da hingestellt.
Guck mal, wie schön Bistro und Bar.
Da vorne ist noch, da ist es.
Guck mal, und da hinten kann man da bestimmt auch stehen mit Meerblick.
Ja, so.
Wollen wir da bereit?
Ja, machen wir. Ich tue jetzt, das ist genau der Wendekreis. Das dürfte jetzt kein bisschen, enger sein.
Wir winken nochmal.
Ich weiß ja nicht an.
Ja, fahren wir da runter?
Ja.
Guck mal, da ist doch irgendwie schön.
Ja, ja. Machen wir
Ja.
das richtig.
Because the MacBook Pro was overheating since a while, the lieutenant decided to visit the local Apple dealer in Reykjavik. However, they didn't offer any assistance. In fact, the opposite was true. So the lieutenant took matters into his own hands, bought some tools, fresh thermal paste, and opened up the computer. Dusting it off was easy using the 10 bars compressor from the truck. The rest of the process relied on careful observation and attention to detail.
So, der neue Mac-Doktor. Durch Methode des genauen Hinsehens schaffte es der Leutnant, die Prozessoren freizulegen und dann die alte Wärmeleitpaste abzukratzen. Drittes Standbein, Dr. Mac. Die 3 Herzen sind freigelegt und jetzt kommt's, Thermal Compound in neue Wärmeleitpaste. Und dann sollte das Boot wieder auf Tauchstation gehen können, Herr Kaloy. Okay, hat so ein bisschen was von dem Fenster Silikon. Gleiche Konsistenz, gleiche Farbe. Ich hätte eigentlich auch das nehmen können.
After successfully servicing the MacBook and due to Caroline's departure after the accident, the lieutenant has some time to kill. He uses this time to explore and get familiar with the surroundings. He discovers impressive lava fields and a rocky beach where he decided to settle for a week. During this time, he thoroughly enjoys himself and takes in the beauty of the area.
This is unreal here, this landscape. It's fascinating.
Furthermore, he wonders why there are seismographs installed everywhere in the open field. What could that mean? The Fagradalsfjall volcano is located nearby on the Reykjanes Peninsula. The lieutenant hopes that this volcano will remain dormant. But whatever the whims of Icelandic nature may bring, at the moment, he can enjoy the magnificent view from the panoramic bedroom window of his Mercedes-Benz ZETROS truck. After a stunning and colorful sunrise over the barren fields out of northern direction, the lieutenant continues his reconnaissance by driving on the mountain roads of the Reykjanes Peninsula. It's a challenging test for both man and machine, but the reward is extraordinary landscapes of moss-covered lava fields and peculiar formations of colored rocks, interspersed with picturesque highland lakes. And the best part? All of this is not too far away from the capital city and the international airport, known in Icelandic as Keflavik Flugvöllur.
Karo-Vögel sind wieder da. Kein Spaß hier. Die greifen an und scheißen dabei. Deswegen habe ich die Kappe auf. Ja, 69er. Ich erkenne es an den Rücklichtern. Das glaube ich jetzt nicht. Das ist ein Jammer. 69er Dodge Charger. Genau so einen hatte ich mal, sogar ein RT. Na gut, da ist ein bisschen was zu machen an dem Auto, aber man kriegt ihn hin. Oh, V8 ist auch noch drin. Lichtmaschine, alles da. Was will man mehr? Gut, neue Reifen bräuchte er vielleicht. Hier im Aurora Basecamp. Was ist hier los? Das schauen wir uns jetzt an. Ja, es hat so ein bisschen was von Biosphere 2 in Arizona. Da war ich ja damals 2003 mit Paul Nelson. Dir wird's gefallen hier, da kommen wir noch mal her. Nichts, den Truck hier im Morast zu versenken, zumal es hier nicht mal Handyempfang gibt. Wer soll hierher kommen? Hört irgendwie alles auf in diesem Kessel. Da hinten stehe ich dann. Bringt nichts jetzt hier weiter zu tuckern. Geht's nicht weiter. Super soft moss in midst of sharp lava rocks. Beautiful.
After the morning stroll across the super plush Icelandic moss and a kick-ass breakfast, the lieutenant takes a quick break from working on the computer to look out the window, and what he must see there, he doesn't like at all.
Da will ich so einen Film schneiden und gucke aus meinem Panoramafenster und was sehe ich da? Da steht ein Renault, der wollte dahin fahren, wo ich stehe. Jetzt ist mir jetzt schon klar, wie das ausgeht. Gucken wir uns mal an. Es ist gekommen, wie es kommen musste, wie es vorausgesagt hat. Da vorne steht der Havarist bzw. die Havaristin und hat einen Schlepper gewusst schon für 35.000 isländische Kronen. Sagte ich, naja komm, das kannst du ja sparen, Mädel, ich zieh dich raus. Und ich glaube, da ist jemand sehr, sehr glücklich dann.
Thank you.
Every day a good deed, the lieutenant thinks after that spontaneous rescue mission, and he gets back to work, calmly editing the film. What else will happen today?
So, was habe ich heute noch vor? Das kann ich nicht genau sagen. Ich drehe diese albernen Steinmännchen um, die die Touristen hier aufstellen. Ich hasse die Dinger. Was versaut die ganze Natur.
While revisiting and trekking through the lava fields, the lieutenant listens to passages from the Holy Scripture. Fits right in, he thinks. In this environment, it's easier to imagine it all. From the book of Genesis in the Bible, and so, heaven and earth were created, along with every living thing. On the seventh day, God finished his work and rested from all his labor. He blessed the seventh day and made it holy, as it belonged to him. For on that day, God rested after completing his creation. This is the story of the origin of heaven and earth. That's how God brought them into being. When God, the Lord, made the earth and the heavens, there was no grass or shrub in the fields, for God had not yet sent rain to water the land. There was no one to cultivate the ground. Only water rose from the earth, nourishing the soil. Then, God, the Lord, took dust from the earth, molded it into a human form, and breathed life into its nostrils. And thus, man became a living being. The people began to multiply and spread across the earth. Many daughters were born to them. The divine beings saw that these human daughters were beautiful, so they took them as wives, choosing any they desired. They then had children with them. In those days and even afterward, the Nephilim giants lived on the earth. These were the offspring of the divine beings and the human daughters, and they became famous as the great heroes of ancient times. The lieutenant couldn't believe the tremors that shook the entire truck. He was totally puzzled by it, so he decided to venture through the lava fields to get to the bottom of things. As he explored, he noticed seismographs scattered all around. Talk about taking earthquake monitoring seriously. And yes, there had been a volcanic eruption with a flowing river of lava, and the lieutenant was all stoked to witness it firsthand.
Ja, frische Lava. Gerade vom Berg runtergekommen da hinten.
The lava was still hot and smoking in some spots, but that didn't deter him. He spent half the day laboriously climbing up the mountains in the Fagradalsfjall volcano area, eager to get a closer look.
Ja, beschwerlich.
While he was trekking, the lieutenant pondered an interesting paradox. In Iceland, they had strict rules against leaving the marked paths or going off-road. But then, right next to those regulated trails, a mountain would just nonchalantly burp out millions of tons of lava, wiping out entire valleys. It made him question the whole notion of proportionality. Where's the fairness in that, he wondered. And if that wasn't enough, he couldn't help but think about emissions. They were always telling people to save fuel and be eco-friendly, yet at the same time, this volcano was belching out massive amounts of sulfur dioxide and CO2 into the stratosphere, causing darkness over the northern hemisphere. It was a real irony. Talk about proportionality gone out the window. So there he was, standing on those volcanic peaks, contemplating the quirks of nature and human rules. The lieutenant couldn't help but shake his head in amazement at the wild and unpredictable ways of the world. After that, he keeps on driving and visits the coastal town of Grindavik, a place in southwest Iceland on the Reykjanes Peninsula. The folks there make their living from fishing, since there are some prime fishing grounds right off Grindavik on the Reykjanes Ridge's continental shelf. That's why the now expanded harbor plays a crucial role in the country's economy. In the eyes of the lieutenant, there's a lot to see there, even though everything seems calm and tidy. Here the lieutenant is deeply impressed by one thing in particular: the ice cube machine at the harbor. It totally outshines the ice maker in his truck. And let me tell you, he had worked up a fierce appetite from all that mountain climbing. So he decides to chill out at Papa's restaurant. They claim to whip up the best and freshest fish dishes in the world.
Bei Papas hier. Bei Papas für Papa. Tatsächlich sehr frisch, sehr lecker.
Alright, fair enough. We're talking about cod. That's pretty much the main choice here, unless you want to get all adventurous or gross. Cause the lieutenant ain't in the mood for some whale steak, and definitely not in the mood for rotting Greenland shark. So there he is, enjoying the sights and flavors of Grindavik, taking it easy after the rugged adventure in the mountains. The lieutenant can't help but appreciate the simple pleasures and good eats in this charming little fishing town. Well, talking about Icelandic charms, of course.